Dadati pratigruhnati guhyamakhyati pruchati bhungte bojayate chaiva shadvidam priti lakshanam. The word-to-word meaning for this verse is dadati is the dadati, it's giving. So here specifically it means giving charity. Dadati. Grahna, the word, the root of pratigruhnati is graha, means take. Pratigruhnati means in return, taking in, accepting in return. So dadati is giving in charity, and pratigruhnati is accepting in return whatever is given. So these two words generally can mean give and take, but specifically it means here giving charity or accepting in charity. We will see more meanings for these words with the commentary. Guhyam is secret, or you can say confidential. Akhyati is explaining. Yeah, I'm not sure if you have heard these words. Vyakhyanam. So vyakhyanam. So is like means is someone explaining. So here it is. Akhyati is expressing or explaining something confidential to someone. Prichati is question. Pricha is the root is pricha, that means question, means asking. Specifically, it's an active verb. It's an active thing that is asking something. Prichati is inquiring or questioning in general. Bhungte is eating, and bhojete is feeding. So one is accepting food, the other one is that means eating food, the other one is giving for others to eat. Bhungte and bhojayate. Shadvidam, shad is the six. We have been seeing many six. This is the other six that we will see in the series. So shadvidam, these six things. Preeti lakshanam. Preeti is love. Lakshanam is symptoms. So these six are actually symptoms of love. Symptoms of love that is shared between devotees. What are those six things? Giving and accepting gifts, asking and explaining about confidential matters, offering and accepting prasad among devotees. These six things are called as symptoms of love. So let's see how Prabhupada exactly translates this. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind and confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad, and offering prasad are the six symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. This is Srila Prabhupada translates this. And these are the six key words that we need to memorize or kind of have some idea, because in the whole, throughout the lecture, I'm going to be mentioning about these words again and again. I'll be referring to these six words. Dadati is act of giving in charity. Pratigruhnati is accepting in charity. Guhyam is confidential. That is common to both these words, akhyati and pruchati. Guhyam akhyati and guhyam pruchati, actually. So guhyam akhyati means inquiring in confidence. Pruchati is asking something very confidential or explaining something in confidential. Bhungte is accepting prasad, and bhojete is giving prasad to someone for honoring. So these six types of loving exchanges, that's what we are going to see today. So they can be put in three categories because it's related to gifts, prasad, or confidentiality, confidential topics or exchanges. So offering and accepting gifts, revealing and inquiring confidentially one's mind, offering and accepting prasad. So these are the main three categories within which we have six types of loving exchanges. So we will see each of these categories in detail, both as given in Srila Prabhupada's purpose as well as commentary by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So before getting into this whole concept of six types of loving exchanges between devotees, Bhaktivinoda Thakur presents certain introduction to what is actually association. So before getting into Srila Prabhupada's purport, we'll just spend some time because it clarifies some concepts which are very foundational, and then it will be easy to build upon the other topics. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains what is association, because okay, I can't avoid discussion at all. So I'll ask a question like, what is something which was repeated in these past three verses? There were certain things that were like, for the sake of emphasis, some things were repeated, even though these are nectar of instruction. Upadesha Amrita is a condensed instructions. Some of those instructions in different forms was kind of repeated. So did you observe anything that is being repeated, either as a negative injunction or the positive alternative of that in that? Any examples of repeat?
Janasanga and Sangatyag.
Yes, Mother Preeti, it is perfect. Like Jana Sangha and Sangha Tyag. Anything else?
Prajalpa.
Prajalpa, in how is it re-emphasized?
So we have it in the first verse, and then
As Vacho Vegam.
we have it in the second verse as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the third verse.
The solution is
Yeah,
actually gravity, means dhairya.
yeah.
So Vacho Vegam and Prajalpa is also emphasized. So both in terms of one speaking and one in terms of one's association. Two things came up here. One is the Jana Sangha and Sangatyag, which is very direct. In one, avoid bad association. In the other one is also like literally avoiding bad association in a positive way by taking association of devotees. And in Prajalpa is the one thing. So here, thank you both, Malpreeti and Shilpi. So the same, because one of these, even though these instructions are very condensed, we see that the association is kind of considered very important. That's why the second verse had Jana Sangha, which said it should not be done. And in the third verse, it was said how association of devotees should be taken up. So that is mentioned as Sangatya. Giving up bad association is considered as a sign of Vaishnava. We saw a verse from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Avaishnava Sangha means Vaishnava. Vaishnava, that the symptom of a Vaishnava is to give up a Vaishnava or bad association. So in that context, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, now in this verse, if you see Srila Rupa Goswami is saying again about 6 symptoms of love, association between devotees. So the emphasis on the association, importance of the association is continued. And before Srila Rupa Goswami actually gets into the details of how to practice bhakti, the first thing he emphasizes is to have loving relationship between devotees, because we always need association, we always deal with people in the world, so we can just completely go into a like an isolation to practice bhakti, so it is not going to work. So that is why even before getting into the details of how to practice bhakti, vaidhi sadhana bhakti, the first thing that he takes up is to clarify what kind of association is to be avoided, and devotee association should be accepted, but how it should be dealt with. So that he is clearly dealing in a practical way how to actually associate with other devotees. That is the first topic he takes up, and then the other details he is going to go into. That almost comes in the 7th verse. What to do in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, the core spiritual activity. Before that, what to do, how to be in the association of devotees is being explained. So here Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, if someone says like by hearing Jana Sangha or Sangatyag, these two instructions given in the previous verses, if we feel, as is very clearly written down here, if we feel how can I avoid, because I work in the world, I have to deal. So he says, what do you mean by association? He clarifies, how can one give up the proximity of people who may not be devotees or things which are unfavorable for devotion service? It's very difficult to avoid in general, even for a renunciant, what to speak of others who a day-to-day live in a deal with the world. So he's saying, even in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time, he is saying whether one is grihastha or renunciate. So it's after like 150 years now, it's even more true, I would say. So how are we going to avoid the association of people if it's just being, if it is considered as just the proximity is considered as association? So he explains how the proximity may be there, however one should not engage in bad association. So what do you mean by engage? So these 6 exchanges are given as the form of engaging with a bad association. We will see details later. So he explains the positive side of it. What do you mean by association is when 6 exchanges are done that are mentioned in this verse, when there is give and take, uh, when there is giving in charity, accepting in charity, giving food, accepting food, or dealing with confidential matters, revealing and inquiring. We may say, oh, this is very external. So if I work in an office, if someone's birthday is there, I may offer a small gift because they might have offered me a gift. So it's, how do you think? It's a very external thing. How do you consider that as, if proximity is not considered an association, how is exchanging things considered as association? So that's why then he is clarifying there. If all these activities are done as a matter of duty, without having like a deep emotional exchange, then it is not considered so much of an association, because still there is some formality while living in the world. So we may even have affection for people, but that affection should not be that much of a involved emotion that our devotional service is going to get compromised. Because how can we not sometimes like a person, they may not be devotees, we may be working with them, we may be neighbors to them. So as a devotees, we can even cultivate them just by being kind to them and exchanging gifts. So there are ways to adapt these things when we deal with other people, but it should not be an emotional kind of a thing, especially a lower emotion invoking. Say for example, someone looks good, so we try to kind of deal with them, then we may get agitated, or we may have envy towards someone, or we may be greedy for something. So all these lower emotions should not be getting agitated by this exchange of these 6 ways of affection. If it's a matter of like showing general affection, generically just being kind to people as a soft-hearted person, that's something. However, these same exchanges should be done with devotees out of love, because then it becomes actually association. So it should not, giving charity to a materialist or accepting charity from one, if done out of love, becomes a satsanga. But if it is done as a matter of duty, then it is not called as satsanga, because it's unavoidable in this world to deal without dealing with all kinds of people. So Srila Prabhupada mentions the 6 types of loving exchanges. He has a whole commentary. So Srila Prabhupada's commentary can be put into 4 category, into classified into these headings. Like he explains whom to associate with, how to associate with those people, and where to associate, and why to associate. So all these 4 things he explains. He also additionally explains whom not to associate in the form of mentioning or quoting Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's purport. So we will see that also. So whom to associate with, Srila Prabhupada very clearly mentions it is to associate with the devotees. And he explains even in the normal world, when people want to establish relationships, they engage in similar activities. It is, we can observe this even before becoming devotees. These 6 activities were happening. We were exchanging gifts with friends, we were receiving gifts, we were visiting people for to have lunch, or we have people over for lunch or dinner, exchanging food. In the same way, confidentially expressing our struggles, or our successes, in a very, with people whom we trust and love. So these things happen in normal life also. So Srila Prabhupada gives the example, even in regular business association, these kind of things happen. So the same kind of an expression should be done with devotees. And Srila Prabhupada specifically says where to associate is to, in these International Society for Krishna Consciousness, in the Society of Krishna Consciousness, or devotees. So he specifically uses these exchanges as a tool for preaching also. So if you see Srila Rupa Goswami, he is focusing mainly, in one sense, the flow of thought. This is a guidebook for practitioners. If you see from that perspective, these 6 exchanges are done between devotees who are already practicing, so that their own nourishment in Krishna consciousness is enhanced. Srila Prabhupada is also showing us a hint that how these 6 activities, when done properly by a devotee with a non-devotee, a favorable person that can actually inspire that person in their Krishna consciousness, make them actually invoke or awaken their dormant Krishna consciousness. So in both ways it is helpful. So that's why Srila Prabhupada is giving this example of a life member exchange, because it is the life member exchange. If you see in terms of our context, it's not going to personally, as a devotee, if we want to nourish our personal lives, it's not that we are going to find and make someone life member or anything. We are going to find a devotee whom we actually trust, who is like friendly with us, and we will exchange these things. Why Srila Prabhupada, as I mentioned, is giving this example is he's quoting it as a tool for preaching also, not just personal nourishment in spiritual life, is also a tool for preaching he is showing. So this life member exchanges, Prabhupada explains in elaborate in the purport in the beginning, that how the life members actually give donation, they give charity, because Prabhupada is, or the movement is propagating Krishna consciousness, and then they invite. Srila Prabhupada had many invitations when he was visiting India, especially for various wealthy people, pious people, to have to come to their home and then have prasad with the devotees. And they also inquire about Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada says the devotee can accept the donation and can give books in return. So they give money, and then we can give magazines or new or books related to Krishna consciousness. And we can accept invitation from, they give invitation and we can accept and go and honor prasad. And when they inquire about Krishna consciousness, we can explain about the importance of devotional service to Krishna. In this way, the spiritual life of the devotees is nourished because they are making a positive contribution to the society, and the people who are contributing to and associating with the devotees, their spiritual life is being nourished in a way that their dormant Krishna consciousness is revived through this association. So both the devotees are also receiving nourishment and blessings from Krishna for propagating, as well as the people are also receiving blessings in the form of invoking their dormant Krishna consciousness. So he says, in this way, these six dealings can actually nourish the society of Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada says the whole society was started single handedly, and the expansion actually happened through these loving exchanges. So if we read Srila Prabhupada Leelamrit, Prabhupada, when he had nothing, all he had was one apple. Still, he cut those apples and then he would give a little piece to everyone. So the principle is, if someone comes to the temple or comes to an association, something in the form of prasad needs to be given, because it is Krishna's mercy. And also, it showed Prabhupada's love for concern for them to share something. So it's not just knowledge, but he also gave them prasad. And he didn't stop there. When he had little more facilities, then he personally cooked. At the age of 6, he came here at the age of 70. I am around sometimes with people who are 70 plus, and I have parents who are like my father is over 70. I can clearly see it's not a joke to work, like to cook for like 25 people, young people, and serve them and take care of them, and then wash all the containers afterwards. So he didn't have any help. He had to buy, he had to cook, and he had to clean all those vessels also again. So it's an intense way of showing love and care, actually, active way of showing love and care. So when that happened, when people were just taking that for prasad, but still gradually some actually started understanding, oh, he's giving us so much and we are taking so much, we need to do something in return. So how should Prabhupada personally portray that, like showcased by having these kind of exchanges of giving and making prasad for devotees, and then they accepting it, actually evolved in their consciousness, and then they gradually actually accepted Krishna consciousness. So he says the whole expansion happened because of these loving exchanges. He would give books and he would take money from people for those books. So the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been established to facilitate it. It not only began by the six loving exchanges that Srila Prabhupada had with other people, it is also started primarily to facilitate these kind of six loving exchanges between devotees, and devotees having these exchanges with other people in the world. So this is the whole purpose of the society. We being member of Krishna consciousness means to have these six kinds of loving exchanges with other devotees, and also spreading these exchanges with people who are currently not practicing devotional service in whatever way appropriate for them to, for us to have with them, so in a sensible way. So this is how Srila Prabhupada explains. And Srila Prabhupada writes this particular statement: the life of the Krishna conscious society is nourished by these six types of loving exchange among the members. So first it should happen within the members, among the members. Then those members can actually have the similar kind of loving exchanges with other people. And in this way, the society can be expanded. So first nourishing the society and then expanding the society, both can be done through these six exchanges. Therefore, people must be given the chance to associate with the devotees of ISKCON. Because why we need to let people have association of devotees? Because simply by reciprocating in the six ways, if you see here, it's a more personal way of connecting to people. It's not just speaking about knowledge, what is the right philosophy and how they are wrong or anything. It's more of a very personal way of connecting. Simply by reciprocating in the six ways mentioned above, an ordinary man can fully revive his dormant Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada is giving a proper preaching strategy which is more sensitive. And Srila Prabhupada then comes to the topic. So far we saw who to associate with, which is devotees of Krishna consciousness movement, and where to associate is the Society of Devotees, Krishna Consciousness Society, ISKCON. And he also gave the principle of how these six exchanges can nourish the members of the society, as well as can be used as a tool for expanding the members of the society. And now is going to explain the topic on how to associate. So now within the association we need to nourish each other, but how to do that is through Srila Rupa Goswami's advice of having these six exchanges: offering and accepting gifts, offering and accepting prasad, revealing and inquiring confidentially. So the first of the six loving exchanges is actually Dadati. Dadati means giving in charity, giving gifts in charity, giving money in charity. So contribute. And Srila Prabhupada takes a very interesting thing. If you observe, Prabhupada's angle of presenting this verse is how, as already members of devotee international society, we can contribute to the society in general, or society at large. How we can contribute to the society, in that will be like primary. That is one of the primary angles of Srila Prabhupada's purport. He also has aspects of how to nourish within the devotee association. However, he also presents this angle of how devotees can use these six exchanges to bring other people into Krishna consciousness. So both these things need to be seen. So Srila Prabhupada mentions contributing or distributing the holy name of the Lord is a sublime example of contributing or giving in charity. How as devotees we can give charity, not just taking charity always. Oh, I'm like, at least as a brahmachari, I can say sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm a brahmachari, so world should only give to me. But actually, the idea of being a devotee in general or being a renunciant is to give actually. So here, Srila Prabhupada is saying contributing or distributing the holy name of the Lord is what we can give to others. So Srila Prabhupada's consciousness is always of very selfless and giving. So we can see that here in the way he writes the purport. So Prabhupada says Krishna consciousness is inherent in everyone's heart. So just if we give a chance to people to hear about Krishna, just through that hearing and chanting, their heart can get purified. And through that purification, Chetodarpanamarjanam, they can actually invoke their dormant Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada gives example of how Haridas Thakur told Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he is not only a chanter, but one who hears also purified. It's not just the chanter gets purified, even those who hear those chanting is also purified. So even if they are lower species, the living entity is in a lower species of body, still they can be purified. And Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed this during his Jarikanda forest. When he traveled through the forest, through his chanting, even the animals' heart were melted and they were all becoming friendly with each other. Even though they were in general inimical, like a deer or a lion. So these kind of animals, they're not like friends. Still, just by hearing the chanting of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how fortunate they must be, we can imagine that the Supreme Lord personally, in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, having the mood of Srimati Radharani, sings his own name. He, like Krishna is not different from his name, and here Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is personally there, and he is invoking his own name. So it's like Namo Mahavadanyaya. He's like more magnanimous. He's giving himself by calling out without even someone asking. So you sell yourself without even being asked for free. So he was just calling out his own names with so much love. Who can have more love for God than he can display himself? And these animals were so fortunate, and their hearts actually melted. So we can help people throughout the world by chanting the holy name. So as devotees, what we can give as charity to the world in general is to distribute Krishna consciousness, specifically distributing the holy name of the Lord. So this is Srila Prabhupada's take on Dadati. And on Pratigruhnati, say for example, be willing and ready to receive the transcendental gift. So this is both for us as well as for common people whom we are trying to give the gift. So if they are willing and ready to receive this transcendental gift of the holy name, their lives will be benefited. And as devotees, between ourselves in the association of devotees, if we are ready and receive the transcendental gift in the form of devotional association, devotional knowledge, devotional holy name, Bhagavatam, our lives will be benefited. So both giving, I cannot just think, okay, as a devotee, my only duty is to chant for others, give knowledge to others. But it is also a duty of a devotee to accept these transcendental gifts in our own personal lives by personally sincerely chanting our rounds, by hearing Bhagavatam from other devotees, by studying with other devotees. So in this way, we also accept this transcendental gift in our lives personally, very sincerely, and give it to others. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, both I have put Dadati and Pratigrihnati together, lovingly giving another devotee that which he requires. So because we are still living in this world, we also have certain likes and dislikes and needs and requirements. So if we know what another devotee actually likes, and if there is a conventional day of like a birthday, even though it's not just the regular Vaishnava thing, everyone celebrates a birthday or something like that, we know we are not these bodies. Still, it's a conventional way everybody had celebrated birthday, and it's an easy way on that day to make someone feel loud by giving them some gifts. And if I know if a such and such person likes something, so then I can get the same thing what they like, so that they can feel happy, so make them feel happy. So lovingly giving another devotee that which he requires or likes or has affinity towards, and lovingly accept those items that are mercifully given by other devotees. When you give, you think what this person might require or like or have affinity for. But when others give, don't judge, anyway I don't like this, why this guy is giving me this. No, accepting those items that are mercifully given by other devotees. When we receive, we think this is Krishna's mercy coming through this devotee. I don't judge, oh, this is a $10 thing, or it's a color which I don't like. I don't want this. Sometimes, yeah, I don't want to. Means, yeah, there can be so many inconveniences in like when we try to receive something, but we actually see this as mercy coming of Krishna and not judge, and lovingly accept those devotees, not grudgingly, but he very nicely puts it, lovingly accept those items that are mercifully given by other devotees. So I thought, like, very nicely put in this one sentence. Whoever translated Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bengali bhajan, they very sensitively translated the words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So I really like this. It's helpful very personally. And the next principle, the first principle that we saw, which had two details in it, is like Dadati and Pratigrihnati, that is giving in charity and accepting charity. We will see more details in the coming verses, but for now it is contribute, either giving transcendental gifts to others or accepting those same transcendental gifts when it comes to us through others. And not just transcendental gifts, even those things which in general life we require, exchanging those gifts also between devotees considered uh, a spiritual exchange. But the idea behind it, we try to be sensitive to others when we try to give to them. We don't think, okay, I don't use this, let me reserve it for giving gift to others. Like I have like a means, okay, I kind of store things which I don't like, put aside. When an opportunity comes, I can give an as a gift. So not like that. When we think of what this person might require, because should be some amount of sacrifice, there should be a pinch when we do charity. And on the other side, when we are on the receiving side, we think, oh, this has been mercifully given by this devotee, so I accept it lovingly without considering how valuable it is externally or anything. And Guhyam Akhyati Pruchati is the next item. There is two things in here again. Guhyam is confidential, and it applies both equally to the word Akhyati and Pruchati. So asking something in confidence and explaining something in confidence. This probably has a lot of details to speak about. I think explaining some context and some more details would be helpful before we get into the purport. So this Guhyam Akyati Pruchati can happen on multiple levels with multiple kinds of people. So it's a very important thing for our lives, for our spiritual advancement. Guhyam Akyati Pruchati can on multiple levels, but to just put it, I was also hearing Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's lecture to very nicely put it, as he said, it can happen on at least on 3 levels, if not more. So it can happen in general with a very advanced devotee that we are trying to ask about Krishna, like confidential things about Krishna, on a say on a Raganuga level, or on when we are qualified enough to inquire about very higher things about Krishna. That is one level of confidential topic. The other one is our services that we have for Krishna, that we perform for Krishna. Those service related things we can ask things in confidential. The other things, our own personal struggles in life. So we all have like our private struggles. We all have a personal journey in our Krishna consciousness. We have our own unique and personal struggles. So those things also we need help with those things. So that can not always be dealt in public with anyone and everyone. So that also needs to be done very confidentially. And the other thing I can also include in this category is like a devotee's life, even a general life, that they do work, study, and all those things. Even that may have some aspect of dealing with the world, but still, because it can actually make this devotee stable in their devotional service. It has a contribution in their devotional lives also, someone's family life, someone's professional life, someone's educational life. These things also to some extent contribute to our spiritual stability. So even like trying to help another devotee in those areas with a viewpoint, because this is going to help that devotee's spiritual life. So with that attitude and consciousness, and that devotee also taking that help with a proper consciousness, that can also be a very confidential thing, can nourish relationships, can actually strengthen someone's faith. Say for example, somebody is really struggling for a job, devotee, and then another devotee actually helps him get a job. It's not just a mundane thing, it's much more than just having a job. It actually strengthens our faith in the association of devotees, how they care for us on various levels. So it actually makes a person commit to bhakti much more if he is sincere. So these things all can be considered confidential on various levels. The highest level could be asking about Krishna directly, very confidential things, and receiving that knowledge and explaining that to others, and about our services to Krishna. And the next is the personal struggles that we have, which stops us from going towards these two levels. Easy to is to speak about services. Oh, how are you doing? Like, how can you do this service? Okay, I'm a pujari. I teach someone how to make a turban, or somebody is a book distributor who explains how to do the book distribution. These things are one level, but to go on other level is to ask especially about Krishna. But both of these levels get obstructed when we personally don't have a strong spiritual life, personal spiritual life. So those things are caused by the struggles that we have in our spiritual life. So that needs to be resolved to go to these two levels nicely. Because we can go to another book distributor and think, ask, but that person, he may not explain, because he may have a certain level of competition or anything. Or if we are competitive, we may not explain to someone who is wanting to actually excel in that aspect of service. So these things can be avoided when we have a strong personal life, spiritual life. The obstacles to that is our personal struggles. So that also we need help from other devotees. It is absolutely necessary. I can, because of my life experiences, I can personally, with conviction, I can speak. There are certain struggles in life. It's not that we don't have the knowledge or we cannot overcome, but sometimes Krishna will not let us actually overcome those struggles, because if we don't want to humble ourselves and go and take guidance from other devotees, Krishna will make sure we struggle to some extent, because there is an aspect of, oh, I can do it by myself, by my own strength. So that ego is there. That's what Krishna wants to humble also sometimes. Just humbling ourselves and going and expressing can itself is an act of surrender, actually, because we are humbling ourselves to other devotees. So that itself is a sign of surrender. And also, if you, it's very interesting, if you see the nama parads, the seventh aparad is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. So the, if you see Harinam Chintamani and other commentaries on these offenses, the solution given to that is to actually reveal in confidence to other devotees. That is the remedy which is given, because it is said these anarthas, like in the form of lust, anger, greed, delusion, pride, they are like highway robbers. We actually work hard in our spiritual lives. We try to chant, we try to visit holy places, we engage in deity worship, we do services. It's not an easy thing to practice devotional service in this world, especially if you're working and if you have so many responsibilities. To practice devotional type life takes so much sacrifice. And we do all this sacrifice. We actually slog sometimes so much to actually practice spiritual life, to cook for other devotees, to host other devotees. We do so much hard work. And after all this, something very simple and silly actually takes away all our effort, our taste, and our interest in Krishna consciousness. Of a very small thing, very silly thing, if we come to our senses, it is a very superficial thing, but it can completely suck all the efforts that we put into devotional life. And we may think, oh, I can just overcome that. It's not a big deal. I know what to do, the right thing. I'll start writing journals, I'll make schedules, I'll do this, I'll do that. We can try so many things. And we see every now and then it again comes up, and it like kind of derails us in our devotional life. And again we think, oh no, I can just make it up. We hear one lecture here, there, then we feel very fired up. We again think, oh, I overcome. After a few months, again we have the same problem. So it kind of keeps on going. So the remedy given there in the for this is actually to open up someone who is sincere, because when they actually hold us responsible and they speak straight to us, this is not right. Because we always want to project ourselves as the very nice devotee who has got everything together in devotional life and has no struggles, and we want to show ourselves as like the perfect Mr. or Miss or Mrs. We all want to be seen as perfect. But to actually open up and say, I have this struggle, please, I don't have the strength, can you please help me? Krishna actually feels, okay, you're humble. It's not that we don't have the strength. Krishna will actually unlock it, that strength that we already have. The ability to practice Krishna consciousness is not our own personal ability. It has to come from Krishna, then it can be more sustainable. So to come from Shraddha to Nishta, we need to pass the Anartha Nivriti, and that can happen because there's going to be so much struggles for all practicing devotees through this phase. And it's not by our own strength we will go through. We can only go through it and grow through it and not get like disheartened and go away. We can go through and grow through this phase of Anartha Nivriti to Nishta only by taking shelter of other devotees who are trustworthy, who are advanced and can give guidance. That also needs to be done sensitively. It's not that I put a Facebook post about my struggle in life. It is not going to help. It does not amount to guhyam akhyati prichati. There may be people who want to discourage us, who want to take advantage of our struggles or so many things. These things are not to be, and not neither is these things needs to be used as a victim card. Oh, see how, like sometimes we want attention in life so badly, we explain our struggles to everyone and anyone in the name of attracting attention. You just, if when others show sympathy to us, we think, oh, at least the world is finally showing to some attention to me. Because if we are not achievers in this world, especially in the world of social media today, everyone needs to be an achiever. If you're not good enough to be before a camera, then you're almost like unworthy to live. That's how the social media makes you feel. In this day and age, to feel like, oh, I'm not worthy enough, can make us feel like, oh, then I'm not good enough to practice devotion service. So then, okay, if I'm not an achiever, at least let me become a victim. Because how do I get attention otherwise? Either I should be an achiever or a victim. Both of them get good amount of attention in this world. So either we try to play the achiever card or the victim card, but neither is necessary. We are actually just to be a humble and need. If you have achievements, there is nothing wrong in actually showing it to the world, to have some sense of achievement, and that is not a problem. Or if we are really having problems, then we can actually, if we are victims of something, there is nothing wrong about it. It happens to everyone. We go to the right channel and express in the right way and actually take help. It should not be done for the sake of cheap popularity or attention. It defeats the purpose. So the world, I can see personally this happening in the outside world. This can affect devotees also. And so when it comes to us, we neither want to play just an achiever card or a victim card. Rather, we just want to see how I can actually take help from proper devotees who can help me with sensitivity, with maturity, and keep confidentiality when required. And in that way, if we actually express our humility, then Krishna will be more than happy to make those struggles easier for us to cross through. So there is nothing difficult for Krishna to do. If he wants to empower us to overcome our struggles, it's not a big difficult thing for Krishna to do. But all he is expecting us to do is to actually come to the right consciousness and humble ourselves before devotees who can actually help and guide us. With that ego, false ego of I can just do it by myself, that Krishna wants to see that being transformed in our hearts. So with this kind of a background, we get into Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada says opening one's mind to the devotees. So it needs to be done. That's why I was saying how it needs to be chosen. Whom do we open and what kind of things? It can be service related, it can be personal struggles, it can be confidential things about Krishna, or it can be even our general life. So opening one's mind to the devotees, inquiring from them about the confidential service of the Lord. This is the highest level, confidential service of the Lord. An experienced devotee explains, and an inexperienced devotee learns from him. This is Guhyam Akhyati Prachati. A general definition of Guhyam Akhyati Prachati is that inexperienced devotee learns from an experienced devotee. There are two things here. The experienced devotee is showing care and compassion. So that is his service, because if he thinks, oh, I have already overcome my struggles and this person is struggling, and he can judge the person. He's not judging, he is giving compassion and care. That is his test. For the inexperienced devotee, he is not thinking, oh, I'm good enough. I also know I have been around for such and such time. I also know why this devotee is considered experienced. I also know things. So he's not having that kind of an ego. Rather, he is thinking and seeing, yeah, here is an advanced devotee. I humble myself before this person. So when this combination of compassion and humility meet, then there is actually Krishna's manifestation. So then in both of their lives, they can experience. By giving guidance, one can experience Krishna's mercy. And by taking guidance, the other person can experience Krishna's mercy. So it is basically exchanging Krishna and experiencing Krishna by engaging in this sacred activity of Guhyam Akhyati Prachati. All these 6 acts are actually ways to experience Krishna with through devotees, keeping Krishna in the center. All these exchanges can be spiritually nourishing when Krishna is in the center. It's not a mechanical activity. I just order something on Amazon and then I deliver it. I do a home delivery to another devotee, and okay, the act is over. It's not like that. It should be done with Krishna, with a proper consciousness. The same activity of ordering something and home delivering. But if it is done with the right consciousness and received in right consciousness, these six acts, they can make us experience Krishna practically in our lives in a very tangible way, in a emotionally satisfying way, and which can touch our hearts and which can inspire us to practice bhakti in a more sincere way, and helping us extend to our compassion to others. It can help our own ability to practice Krishna consciousness, increase our ability to practice Krishna consciousness. So in this way, it can have magical effects on our devotional life. These six things, when done properly with other devotees, can have really astounding effects on our spiritual life. So, and Srila Prabhupada says, one should inquire about the Krishna consciousness movement and open his mind in order to understand the situation of this material world. This he is mentioning in a perspective of a devotee dealing with a new person who is not introduced to Krishna consciousness. In that perspective, he is saying the first 3 points were about devotees who have actually taken up to bhakti already. The last point Prabhupada is mentioning is about a person who has not yet completely taken up the path of Krishna consciousness. He is inquiring from a devotee. So all these categories can be coming under Guhya Makhyati Pruchati. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, revealing one's confidential realization to devotees and hearing descriptions of confidential tenets from pure devotees. This is on a very high level. He is saying, if someone say has confidential realizations about his eternal service to Krishna, about the form of Krishna, has revelations about the spiritual world, these kind of very high confidential realizations, and hearing descriptions of confidential tenets from pure devotees. So both are actually very, very nourishing to one's spiritual life. So the next act is bhungte bojete, a very easily done and commonly done, but actually undermined sometimes or underutilized into its full potential, which is honoring prasad. That means accepting prasad from other devotees and giving prasad to other devotees. Honoring prasad or spiritual food given by the devotees, feeding the devotees with prasad. So Prabhupada says Sunday feast is done in a temple. It can be between devotees, but in if you and or it could be done for new people, and home invitations to share prasad. So Prabhupada explains how in the temples we give prasad and we go to someone's home and take prasad. Both are coming under this category of bhungte bojayate. And for devotees, it's a very Mother Yamuna is a very great example. She would cook very elaborately, very lovingly, and feed other devotees, who the guests whom she's having at home, and also make such excellent bhoga for the deities, and then give it to devotees also very lovingly, sharing it with the devotees. And the care that one can take in offering to the devotees also can be there. Okay, what is good for them, what do they like, and all kinds of various things that we can consider while offering prasads to others. And more than anything, it is not just food, it's actually a sign of love and an emotion which is deeply satisfying when done in the right way. So that is why it is also a very, very important aspect. So, and as when in done to other people, when it is done in relation to new people who are not into Krishna consciousness, you can see how effective prasad is, food in general is. When you actually cook and and pray sincerely that this prasad, let this change the consciousness of these people. And when we try to share that, people can actually appreciate Krishna consciousness so much through those experiences of having prasad. It's one of the most easiest way of accessing the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So that is why giving prasad, both exchanging between devotees as well as giving prasad to new people, it's a very potent act of Krishna consciousness. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also says, lovingly serving devotees prasad and accepting prasad offered by devotees. And you can see this every now and then in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Once you hit you cross the initial chapters of Adi Leela, every other chapter has this. It's a very central activity in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to offer prasad to devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to feed devotees. Devotees want to feed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Devotees want to feed each other, or they want to offer to Jagannath Ji, or the Lord wants to give to the devotees. So it's prasad is such a central aspect of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and we can see that in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita everywhere. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's most emotional interactions with the devotees, like he's going to take sannyas the next day, and he's been always eating every day. When he was in Navadvip, he would only eat on the banana leaf plates acquired from uh, Kolvecha Sridhar. Every day he would only eat from those banana leaves actually got from Kolvecha Sridhar. And he had such affection for him. And he is about to leave, take sannyas the next day. And Kolvecha Sridhar comes with a squash the night. Late in the night, he comes with a squash to give to Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu, you can imagine, he is the Supreme Lord, but how he is thinking, it's such an emotional thing. He understands, okay, tomorrow I'm not going to be here. This is probably the last time I'm going to receive this squash personally from him as in my Manavadvip Leela. So he just does not want to take it and leave it and go and take sannyas the next day. Just imagine you're going to take sannyas. What is your consciousness? And here somebody is giving you a squash in the middle of the night. You would have thought, oh, it's too late in the night, and tomorrow early in the morning I'm going to leave. I'm very sorry. I really am. I accept this with love. No, he actually told Mother Sachi, make this. I want to eat. So make sweet rice. And Mother Sachi said, there is no milk at home. And Sri Chaitanya, and suddenly a person appears with a fresh milk in the middle of the night. If you know, in the traditional times, milk is cow is milked at a particular time of the day. It's not just any time and every time. In the middle of the night, fresh milk was offered by someone to Mother Sachi. On his own account, this person came and offered. By the arrangement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course. Sachi Mata cooked, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tasted that just to reciprocate. And it's not that Kolvecha Sridhar is there sitting next to him and watching, did he use my offering? Did he actually take my offering? No. Kolvecha Sridhar actually left, and he has probably no idea that Mahaprabhu is taking sannyas the next day. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually tasted. And this is how love was exchanged in this form of simple squash. It's probably the cheapest thing you get in this in India, and it grows without any effort. It's just the most easiest thing people can give away. And still, he didn't think, oh, it's just a squash. It's available all over the place in a village. It's just growing everywhere. He's not thinking, oh, it's just a cheap thing. Why care about it? He actually made sure that late in the night, still it's cooked, and he actually accepted the offering of Kolvecha Sridhar. And what does Mother Shachi do afterwards? After he takes sannyas, when he wants to take sannyas, Mother Shachi is also saying, how will I feed you? He says, whenever you cook lovingly and offer me, I'll come personally and eat wherever I am. I may be in Jagannath Puri, I will come personally and eat. So, and whenever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could actually come to Shantipur, Mother Shachi's only request to other devotees was, you all can go and meet him in Jagannath Puri. You all can cook for him there, but I will never get the chance. Let me, the only person who cooks here for Sri Chaitanya and Sri Gauranga here, let me feed my Namai. So it was the affection of the heart of Mother Shachi, who is non-different from Yashoda, is shown to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through that food that she cooked. So that is why it's not just anything simple. Like these days, generally people don't value so much. They just think, oh, it's just order from food from somewhere, eat and go. It's like, but food is a very integral part of life, and cooking and sharing can actually sustain relationships, can actually nourish relationships, can actually sustain relationships. Eating together and cooking for, and it's an act of sacrifice also. It's not easy to cook, so it's an act of sacrifice and love, so it actually can make many relationships survive. So this Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, lovingly serving devotees and accepting prasad offered by devotees. And we saw these three aspects: whom to associate with, which is devotees, or devotees can give their association to people who are favorable to come to bhakti, and where to associate in the association of devotees, or devotees bring others into the association so that they can transform their hearts. And then the third aspect we saw was how to associate. How to associate is 6 ways: by giving and accepting gifts, by revealing one's mind confidentially and accepting the advice, and the third one is the offering prasad or accepting prasad. Now, the last aspect that Srila Prabhupada mentions very nicely. See, if you see Prabhupada's purport, all these things are like intertwined. It's not Prabhupada writes it like whom, where, or anything like that. It just comes in the flow of the purport. If you see, one very important aspect that Prabhupada gives here is why to actually associate. He mainly gives in terms of, in the perspective of how a non-devotee but favorable, when he associates with devotees, his heart can be transformed. He uses this principle of association to actually transform the hearts of a new person, but the same principle can be applied for in the association of devotees also. Prabhupada predominantly writes in this perspective how this principle of association can be utilized to help other people come to bhakti. So we will see in that perspective what Srila Prabhupada writes. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. This is a very important phrase that you can remember. It will be very helpful for you in various ways. This is my hint. So sangat sanjayate kamaha means sangha is association. Sanjayate means from where it is born. Jaya is born, like Atma Jaya, Sutagara. There are many verses with Atma Jaya means from someone whom you take birth, mother. So Jaya is actually sun sometimes, also is like, so here Sanjaya is like complete birth. San, like Samyak Rupena Jayate. Sanjayate means Samyak Rupena Jayate means full, complete. Sankirtan. Kirtan is glorification. Sankirtan is complete glorification. Offering one's mind, body, words, everything in glorification of Krishna. That is Sankirtan. So Sanjayate is complete manifestation of one's desires. Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha. So what happens in the association? Our desires fully manifest from our association. Sanjayate, our desires manifest in full-fledged. They take birth, they sprout, they actually grow and they give fruits. Everything happens. Our desires, all aspects of our desires completely come from our association. So this is why this is taken from Bhagavad Gita, where it says how, what is the, when a yogi does not focus, 2.61 is a very crucial verse. If you go back and see in terms of Bhagavad Gita, it's a very nice flow of thought going in there. Krishna in the second chapter, only one place says about himself. So that is, there he mentions, focus on me, the yogi should focus on me. Then someone may say, oh, the yogi can just control his senses, why to focus on you? So he says, if the yogi just tries by himself without focusing on me, then it will be very difficult. Why? Because dhyayato vishayan pumsaha. If he focuses his attention on any other object, then dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate. So then whatever he focuses his attention on, sangha will happen. Sangasteshu upajayate. Upajayate means sangha, association will be born with what he thinks. What happens with the association? What's the problem? No, he says sangat sanjayate kamaha. Association in this world does not stop just in terms of exchange. It produces desires. And who best understands is the people who advertise for things in the world. All kinds of crazy things are advertised. You just walk in the streets, or you just go to a YouTube even to watch a spiritual lecture or something, you have so many ads coming up. Yeah, all kinds of insurance ads, and like, it's funny also, like, yeah, it's like over years, like over months, you again hear, you want to skip the ads, still you know this brand exists, this company exists. It's just unavoidable for us to register in our minds, because sangat sanjayate kama. Even if you skip your ad after 5 seconds, those 5 seconds you have to watch, and you keep watching for so long, you know this product exists, and it's there in the subconsciousness in your head. So this is sangat sanjayate kamaha. And If it is something which we like, if I'm looking for in my heart and it shows up in my screen, that's it. Like it's just a click away. Like, yeah, it's such a sinister way of design. Like you search for something, and any window that you go, it shows on somewhere. And it's like, how can you not look at that item again? Even if you thought like you clicked at an item and it's like very costly, you're like, oh my god, no. You had your intelligence activated. You say it's too costly, it's not worth spending, don't worry about this, and you forget it. But the cookies does not forget, so it will show you in your browser wherever you go, it will show. And by seeing it once, twice, thrice, like continuously, suddenly when you are in your weak position and you click and you are emotionally like, if only I had this, I'll be more happy in life. Then you like, who cares for this money? I'm just going to spend this. And that is what they are actually waiting for. When you are like emotionally vulnerable, when you think this object can satisfy me, that's what they're waiting for. When you're in your vulnerable position, then you will end up spending that money. So the world is using the same principle to exploit our vulnerabilities. As devotees, we can become intelligent to make sure we guard ourselves from showing our vulnerability in these different ways. So that is why association needs to be carefully done. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. Because if we go and associate with people and tell, oh, there is a problem that I face in the association of devotees. If we tell that to a non-devotee, he'll say, hey, that's why I tell you, don't worry about these things. It's all not that perfect as you think. So when we actually don't know how to engage in these six activities with whom properly, when we do it with the wrong people, then it's going to actually create wrong kinds of desires. So sangat sanjayate kamaha, this is the most important principle on which this Srila Rupa Goswami is saying these six things to be done among devotees. Srila Prabhupada is using this principle to apply it in preaching. So a man is known by his company. If an ordinary man associates with devotees, he will certainly develop his dormant Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada, like, he's not saying he may, he's saying he will. And not just he will develop, he will certainly develop his dormant Krishna consciousness. Because that's what we are all proofs of that. So we just associate with devotees gradually and it affects. Maybe in this life or later, but surely it always comes to fruition and certainly develop his dormant Krishna consciousness. So the underlying of Krishna consciousness is innate. Sorry, the understanding of Krishna consciousness is innate, that we all have Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. It is there in our hearts. And it's already developed to some extent when the living entity takes a human body. Just by having a human body, we are qualified to receive this gift. So association with devotees can help manifest this innate ability. It's already there just by coming in a favorable association, and devotees dealing with people sensitively through these six ways, we can actually make a person favorable. How much they will take Krishna consciousness is their free will. We can't say, oh, everybody should be taking up to 16 rounds of chanting immediately when I speak to them. No. How they take up to Krishna consciousness is their free will. How actually we can facilitate is up to our maturity. Someone may just can appreciate devotees as good people. That is good for that person. If that is all that person can come close to immediately, we should be happy and satisfied and encourage that person to do that at least continuously. And we should know when to actually push people, when to encourage people to go to next level. So it's not like it's not a formula. You can ask someone, okay, when I can do this, when I can do that. It's actually, it's Krishna gives the intelligence if we are sincere, and if we really want to be a well-wisher of another person, we will understand that. Sensitivity becomes when we want to be sensitive, actually. When we are not, when we don't care how the other person feels, what happens to other person's life, when we don't actually value our own Krishna consciousness, we don't understand how much it can change other person's life, then we will behave insensitively. But if we understand how much Krishna consciousness has given to me and transformed my life, and we are grateful for that, then we can be in a frame of mind where we can think, okay, how can I help this person? in his current level, at his current level, where he can go the next level, how I can help this person take that next step in his life so that he can come close to Krishna. There may be 100 steps for him to reach Krishna, but can I be an instrument in this person making at least one step forward? Either we want to see we being the instrument of this person taking all the 100 steps, then we are interested. If it is just making one step, then from 100 to 99, we are like, the world doesn't know that how much I contributed in this person's life. Or we may be going into a person's life at the 99th step, and then they're just going into the 100th step. We think, oh, I am the person who actually had this person take that step. Actually, 99 steps have been taken through efforts of various lifetimes of efforts of various people. So if we are detached and if we are sensitive and we have the this thing in mind, like what is good for this person's spiritual life, then we will know how to act in a certain way, in the perfect way, that this person can take his step close towards Krishna. So that can happen in the association of devotees. The innate ability of each and every living entity to love Krishna can manifest in the association of devotees when done rightly through these six loving exchanges. And Srila Prabhupada says, if one really wants to attain the goal of human life, he should associate with devotees of Krishna conscious movement that teaches one how to develop love of God, peace, tranquility, and friendship among men. What is the advantage of doing these six things? In general, the society does it with devotees, and devotees do among themselves. Peace, tranquility, and friendship among men, to develop our devotional service and dormant Krishna consciousness by association with devotees. The outside world can also experience peace, tranquility, and friendship if they have association of devotees. And if the devotees develop a good association among themselves, they can also be peaceful and tranquil and have friendships which are emotionally and spiritually satisfying and can help in their own practice of spiritual life. Now we have a lot of commentary to cover. So, need for loving relationships. Bhakti Thakur says, why to associate? Because we all need loving relationships. At the end of the day, we are still practicing devotees. We have a need for loving relationships. So he says these six activities are symptoms of love. So they should be exchanged among devotees. One should serve sadhus by the performance of these activities. Those who are intent on progressing in bhakti should associate with pure devotees who possess the power to free one from the tendency to fall into bad association. Sometimes we can, equal association is good, little senior association is good, but we also should make sure we have a strong connection with someone we cannot actually not forget or not push aside in our lives. Even when we don't have the strength to be the right conduct, we to follow the right conduct, still we should have one connection in life which you can't easily say it's okay to give up that connection. No, that there should be one connection. We all have made that connection with Srila Prabhupada. Because he is the founder Acharya of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, he is the preeminent Siksha Guru. We all make that connection through our teachings. We may be, however, bad devotees, we cannot just brush aside the contribution of Srila Prabhupada in our lives. We may not be grateful, we may not be always conscious, we may not be always holding it and acting on that gratefully, that offering, but still, on certain level, we cannot brush aside Srila Prabhupada. Similarly, we also should have a living connection also. It's not that Srila Prabhupada is not living, yes, but Srila Prabhupada cannot turn our ears today, cannot just call us and ask, hey, what are you doing? There is a limitation to our connection to Srila Prabhupada in that physical sense. So for us to make a physical connection, an active connection with someone in our own hearts first, with someone whom we really look up so much that we cannot just push aside that connection in our lives. Wherever we go, whatever we do, somewhere it should be there in the mind that I belong to this person, and this person is actually pulls my sincerity. Even though I have so much limitations and attachments, this person can pull me out of all those things, at least time to time. So that kind of a connection we should always make. That is why Diksha is generally preferred, because Siksha is very important. Our sampradaya is Siksha. However, sometimes we just think, oh, anyway, I don't have a formal connection, so I can break away or and just not take it very seriously. Sometimes that danger is there. That's why you take Siksha, you better take Diksha also from the same first person or from a different person, whatever. The details are a different topic. But the idea is both have Diksha and Siksha with someone who's so strong in your life that you can just brush them aside. You can't actually forget them. That kind of a strong connection is required with someone senior. And within our own level, we need to have friends. And to have contribution to the society, we also need to deal with new people. So all levels is important. But these two levels are sometimes very easy to preach to new people, to be a hero, to be an outreach champion. It's not easy, it needs efforts, but still it's kind of sometimes can be done on a successfully on an external level. The next level is we can have good friends, but to have deep friendship among devotees who are equals, which is spiritually nourishing, who can actually help us just by being them, even though they are our friends, we can be inspired in our devotion service. That kind of friendship we need to go to. Our ego does not allow us to do that many times. So that is one level. But the third level is to actually submit and surrender our lives, because you don't need to surrender to your friends, but to have a very high level of senior association, you need to surrender your ego. You need to know that my life belongs to this person. To say that is not easy. So all these three connections are important. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is clearly saying even taking initiation is the coming under the six loving exchanges, because we are taking shelter. Guhya Makyati Prachati is happening. Dadati, someone is giving us charity. What are they giving? They are giving the holy name. The Guru is giving the holy name to us. We are accepting that holy name and we have to live by that. It's not easy to follow the four regulative principles and chant 16 rounds for the rest of my life. To accept that sincerely and to live by that, it's an act of pratigrahnati. And to giving that is the Guru's dadati. And Guhya Makyati Prachachi, when we try to follow that, there we are going to have so many issues, personal struggles. So then we have an opportunity to open our hearts sincerely and inquire and to get ourselves right. And then offering in the course of taking help, we also get to offer prasad, exchange prasad in so many ways. So Diksha is also one important aspect of this. It opens up a whole range of other activities also. So that is one thing. Else there is a danger of we being attracted to bad association. So in some cases, it's not that I'll be attracted to bad association. I already have enough attraction. It's just that somehow or other by Krishna's mercy, I'm surviving and sustaining and keeping myself away. To make sure that attraction does not drag me forcefully, I need to actually create a strong positive association. It's not that I may get attracted. I can, if I'm honest, I can say, oh, I have already attraction to bad association. I need to become aware of that. I need to take help, and I need the strength to say no. So all these things come in the right association. And do not associate, it's very clear, people who have very strong uh, conceptions which are against Krishna consciousness. That is both Mayavadis and atheists. We are not. See, Prabhupada dealt with these people when he met with them in person very kindly. There are many instances. Fed them prasad, accepted what he gave. A person gave a pamphlet for his program. Prabhupada accepted it and then used it for distributing prasad, the same pamphlet. So, because he is a pure devotee, he could find ways to utilize that person also in Krishna's service. Srila Prabhupada also writes here, we need to be really an advanced person to use everyone's charity. It's not a joke, actually. So, here, to be very clear, philosophically, people who are actually who can disturb our faith in Krishna, our conception of Krishna, our conception of our relationship with Krishna in a personal way, they can pollute it with their ideas. So we need to be very careful about dealing with them. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says, Gyanis avoid because they have a strong desire for liberation. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. So we may just be mukti kamis or siddhi kamis or bhukti kamis. Karmis are gross enjoyers who want some enjoyment. So all of these kind of association needs to be avoided. how not to associate with those kind of people is to never, don't inquire from them confidentially. See, this is not to say to deal with them inhumanly or anything. If they come to your door, you just throw things at their face, or like, don't give them food, this person is going to die, no, I don't give you. No, not here, it is not being said. Not as a matter of duty. That's why I first clarified. As a matter of duty, as a human being, some things needs to be done. That is something different on a human level. That's something different. We are not speaking about that here. In a very emotional way, in a very confidential way, the dealings are being referred. Never inquire confidentially. Never give or accept invitation to associate intimately. By intimate or intermingling, one's desires will be affected. Do not give or take anything in the general sense of offering some food for someone hungry. No, you don't ask, hey, what is your philosophical inclination first, and then I'll give you charity. No, not like that. Giving food is okay, but do not give or take anything in a confidential way, exchanging knowledge, exchanging food in a very emotional way. That is what is being emotional connection is what not is being addressed here. If that is the emotional connection is not always okay, I give my emotion, I cannot give my emotions, it's a subtle thing. How do I give my emotions? Through these things, by asking confidential questions, by giving food. So that need not be done in a emotional way with people of who could be unhealthy for a devotion service. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, Guhya Makyati Prachati, he says, we don't need to go and tell a Mayavadi what is their intricate practices of bhakti. We don't need to ask help from them about how to practice bhakti. No need. You have your Guru, Diksha and Siksha, you have the association of devotees, you have books of your acharyas. Take guidance from there for your performance of devotional practices. No need to see what other person does in their practices. How to meditate. You don't need to go to other people to know how to meditate. Better go to our own acharyas to see how what they have given us, how to chant Hare Krishna. So do not talk about your personal devotional practices unnecessarily here and there everywhere. And he says, to because it can become a nama aparad, because the ninth offense is to explain the glories of the holy name to someone who is not having faith. Okay, Mother Radhika has a question. I'll note. Let me complete this slide and then I'll come back to you. So also, one should never accept any advice regarding the attainment of liberation, because I said the aspect of perfection is a very important thing. What is my goal of life? My goal of life is to give pleasure to Krishna. That is actually a pure devotee's aspiration. We may not be on that level, but at least we should know philosophically, we should have a clarity. I may even want to have liberation from this world. I want to go back. The positive way of putting it is I want to go back to Godhead. But in the heart of our hearts, like, I'm just frustrated with this material world. I want to get out of that. We may have those desires, but we need to know what is the actual right desire to have is I want to do what is pleasure. I want to give pleasure to Krishna. That's the ultimate thing. If we know that is the right thing, we can go towards there. But we need to know this is the clarity philosophically. So that is why we should not take guidance about what is the attainment of liberation or goal from other people, because they may have a mixed idea. That is why last time Mother Amal Gopi asked question about interacting with family members who may be from other Vaishnava Sampradayas. But still, we can respect them. We can even worship the same deities. But what is our purpose of worshipping deities? What is our motive of worshipping the deities? That we have to be very sure. And what we pray can be according to what is given to us by our Sampradaya Acharyas. So the flavor should be very clear. It's the same halwa, but one is pineapple, the other one is blueberry, and the other one can be apricot, and the other can be sesame. So they may not all go very well. So choose to one and stay, then you can at least taste one flavor properly. So one should not instruct them on how to perform Krishna bhajan. If somebody is like in general, no need to give intricate details. Generally inspire them, no need to give intricate details. One should not hear from them anything concerning confidential aspects of bhakti. This is specifically he's speaking about Mayavadis in it. Bhungte bojayate, because here Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Vishayir anna khaile malina haiman, malina mana haile nahe Krishna smaran. Because the kind of food we eat can show us how much control we have. That's why We are being started with controlling the senses. If you see, first he says control your tongue, don't overeat, control your belly, control your tongue, and then again there is atyahar and all these things. In the fourth verse, he says bhungte bhojete. Again, he is speaking about giving food and eating food. First, you ask me to control, and then you are saying the same thing. What you are asking me to control, I am supposed to engage with the devotees. The idea is, first we have understood the instructions of the three verses and tried to practice in our lives. That we have some level of sense control. Just because it is prasad, it becomes like from Preeti Lakshan, it becomes Loba Lakshan. It becomes like, as soon as prasad comes, I just like become greedy and overeat. That we need to already kind of understand and overcome by the practice of the first three verses. Then we try to exchange with the devotees. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, feed them until they are here. Like it's full, like means it's overeating, but if you, when you do it under Krishna's instruction, it's okay. But we don't have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructing us personally, feed them more or feed them only sweets or anything like that. We have to watch our health also. Plus, not just health, what is our like our unfulfilled desires can come through in those moments. You can clearly see what is our emotional status, what is our heart satisfaction status, everything in certain areas. That's what we need to watch. It's not just the quantity, it's the greed which is there, that's jumping out and having a festival, so that others cannot watch. Actually, we have to watch for ourselves. So we don't need to judge others when they are trying to eat more or anything like that. Use all these instructions for personal application. That will be most helpful. So here, no need to give food in an exchange, as an exchange, emotional exchange with people who are of a kind of a predilection, which is either they have material enjoyment or they have mayavadi predilection. Also, one should not feed these three types of persons who possess an enjoying spirit. Bhakti one should not. You can distribute as prasad in general. If it like someone is standing in line, it's you just give or something like that. That's not a problem. But going personally, extending a personal invitation, carrying a like I actually made this, I think you will like it, something like that. If you know this is not it's an unfavorable association, you don't need to show that extra emotional exchange. Eating food prepared by them or feeding them increases one's affection for them. That is unfavorable to bhakti. But if you have a nice prasad, if you're working in an office, maybe you're now working from home, but if you're working in an office physically, you're going there, you can make prasad, cook nice things, and then feed your friends. You don't need to tell them this is prasad. When you eat this, you will develop love of God. You don't need to tell them all of those things. You just have to give them. And next time when they try to give you, that's where you get into trouble. So you need to know how to like kind of manage it properly. So the conclusion that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives: exchanging love with devotees who are of the same aspiration as oneself and who are affectionate to oneself enhances one's bhakti. That is called as Sajatiya Sangha. Means one who has same aspiration, and it's like sometimes we find devotees, everybody wants to serve Krishna, but sometimes we know they are not very affectionate to us, or we are not very affectionate to them. It's not that okay, don't deal with them, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if you have to really want to emotionally nourish yourself, then you need to go to an association where you're cared for, where you're acknowledged, where you're appreciated and affectionately dealt with. That's also very important because we are still practicing devotees. Offering and accepting items, revealing confidential realizations to one another, serving and accepting food are all activities that increase affection. One should not perform these activities with those of different aspirations in life than one's own. Okay, I'm close to finishing off this verse. These are certain quotes by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, love means there is exchange. If you love somebody, if you have not given anything to that somebody, neither you have taken something from him, where is the love? Is that love? So here is Prabhupada is writing in a journal. Love means two persons. There is exchange. Giving something, taking something, feeding something, to eat something, speak everything, know secrecy, to know everything of the other person. When these things are transacted, then there is love. Dadati pratigruhnati bhungte bhojayate chaiva guhyam akhyati pruchati. If I love you and if I've got some secrecy, I don't disclose to you, that's not perfect love. I must deal with you open-hearted. You must deal with me open-hearted. Then there is love. This is one of the basic principles. So to be very safe, apply this with Krishna first, because this world has its own complications. So apply this fully with Krishna, then Krishna will give us the intelligence how much to apply these things with other people. Learning to love Krishna is something like developing love in our ordinary affairs. If I love a girl, I will give her a flower or other present. This is one of the 6 exchanges of love. You have to give a gift to your beloved. You also have to accept gifts from him. Dadati pratigrihnati. Then guhyamakyati pruchati, opening one's mind to the beloved. Guhya means very confidential things. Nakyati means disclosing. You must disclose your innermost thoughts to your beloved, and he will disclose innermost thoughts to you. Then bhungte bhojayate chaiva, giving the lover something to eat and accepting food from him. These are the 6 ways of increasing love. If you act in these ways with Krishna, you will develop love for him. That is why cooking for Krishna is a very sacred activity. If you ever feel like you can't actually do sadhana the same effect, you can try cooking for Krishna, just for Krishna's pleasure. Something very simple. You don't need to cook a huge quantity. You didn't need to cook a complicated thing. It could be as simple as mixing up peanut butter with maple syrup. But if you can just fully focus your attention and love, this is all Krishna I can do currently with wholeheartedly. Please accept this. Krishna says no need to go that far like peanut butter and maple syrup. He is saying, okay, patram pushpam phalam toyam, water, leaf, flower, fruit. So not just thinking these acts as something, okay, simple things, it needs to be done in a certain way. Use this as emotional anchors when we are like actually floating in a sea of this world without knowing where to anchor. Hold on these simple activities as anchors to Krishna in a very practical way. So it can actually develop a personal relationship with Krishna. Then Krishna will open up for us. Krishna is only saying, I will taste your bhakti. So even if we can just put water, a glass of water before our deities or before our pictures and actually pray sincerely, Krishna can open us for how to receive more mercy in our lives. So using these as emotional anchors with devotees, with Krishna, can be very stabilizing to our spiritual lives. Okay, I thought it's going to end. 6 loving exchanges by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Affection in the form of sadhu sangha, that is association with devotees, fosters bhakti. This is indicated in this 4th verse. Giving devotees what is needed by them with love, accepting what devotees give in return, expressing personal confidential matters to a devotee and inquiring about theirs, eating prasad given by a devotee and giving a devotee prasad with love. These are the 6 symptoms of love amongst devotees. This is the way to serve devotees. Every translation, because the same acharyas have written a bhasha, they have written a poem, they have written a bhajan. I'm just trying to get all of that because everything has something like kind of like, okay, giving prasad, but he says with love. Personal confidential matters. If you see the first time I said, the same Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, exchanging things about confidential about one's spiritual realization and hearing from a pure devotee about confidential things about Krishna. But here, if you see, he is saying expressing personal confidential matters to a devotee. It's the same acharya, it's the same verse, but you see various layers opening up. That's why I've included all these various places, because we can get these hints. It's not just we assume how to practice devotional lives. These acharyas are actually giving these details like very nicely and very easily for us to understand. That's why I've included multiple translations are again reiterating the same points. So I found this thing as very noticeable. Expressing personal confidential matters, and I also saw giving a devotee prasad with love, and giving devotees what is needed by them with love. So these are the details that he very amazingly presents, because this is called lived wisdom. Is a realized wisdom of an acharya. So it's helpful for us. The quality, oh, this is an amazing concept also. This all needs separate sessions. If wish, we could just take this verse for a whole class, but for practical considerations, to show love to all of you, to complete this course short, I need to do 2 verses today. Otherwise, it will just go for 2+ years. So the quality which, when offered to the Lord, is called prema or bhakti. So I offer my love to Krishna, and that quality, when offered to the Lord, is called as bhakti, becomes friendship with my equals, compassion with juniors, new people, indifference to people who will become offensive to Krishna if I speak about Krishna to them. They are currently unfavorable, so not actually pestering them will keep them also happy currently and will not make them commit more offenses and go off from Krishna for a long time. To not increase their separation from Krishna, I don't become an instrument of expanding their or along like prolonging their separation from Krishna. I should not become at least an instrument. If I can bring a person to Krishna, end this separation, at least I should not become an instrument of prolonging their separation from Krishna. That's why I'm indifferent to them, not because I hate them, they look in a certain way or they speak in a certain way or they don't like me. No, not all those reasons. I don't want to become a reason for them staying away from Krishna for a long time. So the same love, when I offer to God, Krishna, the same love becomes friendship with other devotees. So if we can have equal good relationship with devotees, there's something that we need to work on. And if we can have compassion and sensitivity towards new people, we need to work on that. And if we don't know how to be discriminate, where not to say things and how not to deal with other people, we need to work. All this is a sign of, to the extent we are offering our love to Krishna, to that extent it will manifest in these other areas. And if you know the Bhagavatam verse, these are the symptoms of a Madhyamadhikari. He offers his love to God, he offers friendship with his equals, he offers compassion to juniors, and he offers neglect. The word neglect is used in Bhagavatam, which may sound in this day and age, oh, how can you be neglectful of people? That's offensive. No, here the neglect is indifference for their own benefit. That's why I prefer the word indifference here. When directed towards other living beings, they become like this. It is a feeling that is inherent in the eternal nature of the soul. Friendship, compassion, indifference is also inherent to us to the extent bhakti is inherent to us, because it's just reflected with different people differently. In the spiritual realm, this quality manifests only as friendship. In the material world, there is indifference and compassion. Who are we going to show compassion and indifference in the spiritual world? There is only love for Krishna and love for devotees. That love with the other devotees manifests as friendship. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, in the spiritual realm, this quality manifests only as friendship. But in the material world, it manifests as friendship towards devotees, mercy towards innocent, and indifference towards the offenders. These are but different aspects of the same compassion. So understanding this will be very helpful to deal with the next verse also. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote a bhajan in the Sharanagati called Bhajana Lalasa. So all I'm going to do is present the translation, which is excellent bhajan. O Lord Hari, the 6 symptoms of spiritual association are giving in charity, accepting in charity in return, revealing one's mind, confidentially inquiring about another devotee's mind, offering prasad and accepting prasad in return. Devotional service to the Lord, please note, is sustained by these 6 symptoms of love that are shared between devotees. Without understanding the actual truth, I cultivated these 6 principles with sinful people, sometimes knowingly and sometimes unknowingly. In this way, I became a materialist and lost devotional service to Lord Hari. When will I properly engage in these 6 types of loving exchange with the devotees of Krishna? Only then will Bhakti Devi mercifully become manifest within my heart. O Lord Hari, when will I be able to give up the association of people who are too attached to sexual enjoyment and those who are non-devotees? When will I receive the opportunity to constantly associate with your devotees? So, in a simple bhajan, he has given the essence of the whole presentation. And if you see, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is presenting himself as a non-devotee. The way he is presenting himself, the mood of prayer is, I'm a non-devotee, I don't have bhakti. When will, only then Bhakti Devi will manifest in my heart. I don't have any bhakti now. So he's saying, so this is how Prabhupada is taking the clue and writing. Just by interacting with the devotees in these 6 ways, even a person who does not have currently devotional service manifested fully can invoke his dormant bhakti by that association. So all the acharyas are agreeing and presenting various angles to the same verse. So the learning objectives for this verse was supposed to be list the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another with reference to the Sanskrit words in NOI text 4. I hope I did that. Reflect on their experience of applying the 6 symptoms of love. Unfortunately, I could not do that in the interest of time. List practical ways of applying the Shadvidam Preeti Lakshanam within devotees. So we saw principally how to do this, but practically depends on each and every person's life circumstances and various other details that needs Guhya Makyati Pritsati actually. Because this cannot be just personal, everything is not like generic. The principle is generic, the details are actually specific. So that needs to be taken under the under guidance or apply one's God-given intelligence. So this is the summary on this verse 4.